never ever waste your money buying an office.
Is it?
I never believe in it, and I'll tell you why. That the leader is the one who sets the signal for the whole firm. The firm attracts and attains the character of the person who leads it. So if you're ethical at the top and you frown on anyone doing anything unethical, it won't happen. Amach and Mangalas offered me a merger. Every Columban is nervous and trepidatious. We were very lucky. We got a lot of work from the initial stages. People have always asked, how have you managed? How have you managed? So I always say, and I actually believe, whenever Napoleon appointed a general, before he appointed a general, he would ask one last question. Is he lucky? So I am lucky.
Is there any difference between handling these high-stake matters? How did you manage that? Because that way you were fairly young to, handle that.
Try as far as possible to have a can-do attitude.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Lawyer podcast. My name is Jana Krishnan. I'm your host and the founder of the Daily Lawyer. And today is yet another episode in our Legacy series, which we're doing in collaboration with Solomon & Company, a full-service law firm based in Bombay and Mumbai, India, whose legacy runs over 115 years of continuous legal practice across 4 generations. We are deeply grateful to Solomon & Company for collaborating with us on this podcast, and we could not have asked for better collaborators, honestly, because Solomon & Company embody the very qualities that encompass this Legacy series. The Legacy series is our shared vision to bring out conversations of incredible jurists who have left an indelible mark on the Indian legal profession. We seek to create a historical archive of sorts, of conversations that any one of us can dip into for inspiration, for direction, or if you just want to spend time in the virtual company of some really great men and women. With that, I'm proud to introduce our guest for today, Mr. Raian Karanjawala. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thanks.
Mr. Karanjawala is the founder and managing partner of Karanjawala Company, a leading law firm which is almost synonymous with high-stakes litigation. The firm has represented some of the most prominent individuals, industries, entities all over India for over 4 decades, and I'm so excited to get into Sir's story, his life, and pick his brain a little bit about what he thinks about the law today and the law of the future. So thank you and welcome to the Daily Lawyer podcast. So you are from Delhi. You went to really prestigious schools, and I think my Bombay roots are going to come here because you went to St. Columba School. Is that the same school that Shah Rukh Khan went to?
So I first went. So my schooling was in 2 parts.
Okay.
The first standard 1 to standard 4 was in a school called Frank Anthony, and then standard 4 to standard 11, because those days the passing out was in the 11th standard, was in St. Columba School.
Which is where Shah Rukh Khan went.
Yeah, but
there you go.
But it's obviously a different vintage.
Of course. And then you went to SRCC. Then you came to Government Law College, which is most of our college that we all went to. So you went from Delhi to Bombay and a lot of prestigious institutions. So how did all of these institutions influence your thinking, and how did that lead you into the practice of the law?
So let's put it very simply. If I were to give grades, then the first 4 years in Frank Anthony School would be a C. Columbus would be about a B. Because frankly, I was an average student in a school full of very brilliant people. And Columbus was an outstanding school academically in those days. I mean, the batch after me had 5 pointers. 5 pointers was the highest amount you could get in ISC when you left this thing. Our batch had 5, the batch after us had 5 pointers. And the head person in that batch topped all the Cambridge.
Wow.
This thing, yeah. So we had an extremely exceptional academic background in those days. So I would say Columbus was a B. And then I joined Sriram College. If you ask me, according to me, that's where I really flowered. Because Sriram College was where I met my very old friend and very close friend, Arun Jaitley. We met when I joined college in the year 72. He brought me into both student politics and into college debating.
Wow.
So I captained, after Arun left, I captained Commerce College for debating, and when I was here, I captained government law.
I see.
And
Okay.
I was also the college union president
Okay.
of Shriram College. So that was a place where I really, if I may say so, came into my own.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, to win that college union election, you have to be popular, you have to be outgoing, you have to know people, people have to know you, and so on. And it was 3 years full of activity. So, I mean, we used to debate all the time. And in those days, debating was a very big and integral part of the DU life, and it was a very good way of supplementing your pocket money because all the debating prizes were cash prizes. So if you won in those days, it was $100 for the first prize and so on and so forth. So a lot of us.
Was quite a good.
It was a lot.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, considering I had about $15 as my pocket money, so $100 was really good, and so you used to sort of easily supplement whatever we got from our parents as pocket money, and it was a very nice. Those 3 years, I think, were among the happier years that I remember. In this thing, we had a great time, a lot of friends, most of whom are here today with us, and we had a really enjoyable time. The only thing is, and this will answer the next question, which you're about to ask me. The only thing is that I did badly academically, so I got a third division.
Oh.
Now, when I got a third division, I was actually intending to, and this answers more than one of your questions, I was actually intending to do either chartered accountancy or do MBA, because when you're a BCom student, those are the first two priorities that you sort of echo out in your mind. But having got a third day, both were out. So law was the only recourse. So I got into law through some lucky sort of misadventure. Government law also was because having got a third division, you couldn't get admission in Delhi University. So I got because of the basis of my extracurricular, and also because, in college, I had made very close friends with Justice Nariman, Rohinton Nariman. So his father, Fali, used to treat me like a, fond favorite friend of Rohinton. So it was Bepsi, Rohinton's mother, who sort of helped me get admission in government law. I remember one day, Fali had come down and was staying at the Oberoi, where he always stayed, and he was in his suite. And Fali had told me, you just come down at this time and meet me there. And Mr. Rafiq Dada, who was also a teacher of mine later, had come for a conference with Nariman. So Bepsi collared him, and Bepsi is Mrs. Nariman. Bepsi collared him and said, no, he's a very good friend of Rohinton. And Rafiq, you have to help him get into college. And he said, okay, I'll do what I can. And because of my extracurricular, I got admission. So that's how I came to government law.
How did you like government law after all of these wonderful academic institutions?
So government law in those days, Balsara was our principal.
Yeah.
We had a blind teacher called Raian Karanjawala.
I see.
Mr. Rafiq Dada was one of our teachers. Harish Jatyani was another of our teachers. Government law was a great place.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about, I'm a Parsi. So I have my roots in Bombay in a sense, because my mother's side of the family all live here.
Yeah.
So I used to stay in those days with my mama and my masi. My mama, masi, Dara and Nagir Sidwa, never got married.
Okay.
So they all stayed in my mother's family home, which we still have in on Marine Princess Street at called Dina Building. So we were on the third floor. I was staying with my mama, masi. So living was quite easy. In government law, I met one of my closest friends, who's still one of my closest friends, is Mukul Rodgi. I met him there for the first time. He had also come from Delhi for the same reason that I had come.
Okay.
And we had another friend of ours who was with me from Columba onwards called Anip Sachde. Tony, we used to call him. Tony was his nickname. So three of us became a bit of a triumvirate. I really enjoyed Bombay.
Yeah.
And I think the advantage of government law was that I suddenly got introduced to an atmosphere, the Bombay atmosphere, which is very different from Delhi.
Correct. Yeah.
It was a much more egalitarian atmosphere. I mean, I'll just give you an offhand example. In Delhi, whenever we used to go out, we used to date a girl. Normally, the boys paid. But in Bombay, I still remember the first time I said, no, let me take the Dutch. And the girl said, nothing doing, we're going Dutch. So, the whole atmosphere in Bombay was more chilled out, more relaxed. And it sort of, I think, certainly helped broaden my horizon. Also, career-wise, it was a bonus in the years to come, because a lot of our initial practice when we started in the Supreme Court was from Bombay, and this is government law was the place where I first made my sort of roots and contacts.
Yeah. But like just picking on from what you said, when you started in Bombay, and I'm very curious.
I didn't start.
Oh, you didn't start the practice in Bombay, is
No.
it? In Delhi only. So after GLC, you went back to Delhi.
Yeah, because I tell you. So what happened was, my Masi, I was like a son to her. My Masi was very keen that I stay on in Bombay, and at that time we'd also inherited a flat in what is a building of you're familiar, so you'll know Kushu Bagh side.
Yeah.
Opposite Kushu Bagh, there's a building called East and West Court.
Okay.
So we had a flat there which belonged to my grand uncle, who was a tenant, and we became tenants and we inherited. So I used to stay there. So I had a place to stay. So technically, the problems a lot of people in Bombay face is where are you going to stay, where are you going to live. I didn't have, because I had a flat. I had a ready-made flat. And at that time, Bombay was the premier litigating place, or the premier place for law. Because that was the year 76, 77, 77, 78, 79. I passed out in 79. So Bombay was at its height, and everybody was doing well and so on. And I was in two minds. But ultimately I said, no, I'll go back home.
Okay.
Thank God.
Really?
Because in the years to come, Delhi has grown like this and Bombay has gone down like this as far as litigation or as far as the practice of law is concerned.
Yeah. So then there was no Bombay office, is it?
Never.
Initially.
There's never been a Bombay office.
Is it?
Ever.
Okay.
And I never, a lot of people told me, obviously years later when we were successful, a lot of people told us that, look, why don't you start a Bombay office? And I remember Bharat Vasani, who was in the Tatas in those days, and he was a Tata legal head, telling me, Mr. Tata has a lot of
matters in Bombay, huh?
No, he likes you and he will support you, and why don't you start a Bombay branch? But I never did. And I took the advice of a man called Jimmy Dadachandji. Jimmy Dadachandji has the biggest law firm in India for many long years. He's dead by 15, 20 years now, but I took his advice. He'd always said, the minute you start a firm, you immediately become a rival to all the Bombay solicitors who send you work. For example, today our practice is very different. Today our practice is a lot of corporates come to us directly. But in the early days when we started our practice, a lot of the smaller firms came. Solomon was one of them. They would send us work. That's how I was so happy. One of the happy reasons why I wanted to come here and do the interview rather than the hotel was that I said I'll meet Solomon and find out how he is. And he's looking very good for his age, I must say. So, a lot of the smaller firms sent you work. And the minute you started your own firm in Bombay, they treat you as a rival. So all the work would have dried up. That was Dadachandji's advice, and that is the reason why I never actually ever started or thought of starting a branch in Bombay.
But that is actually very good advice. Counterintuitive, possibly, maybe at the time when everyone is telling you big things like Mr. Tata himself wants you,
but
etc.
I tell you, everyone says a lot of things when they ask you to join.
Yeah.
Then as the years go by, you don't find, people may say, oh, he loves you. Yeah, of course he's going to send you work. It doesn't happen like that. It's all day to day. They have entrenched lawyers, people who've been doing their work for 30, 40 years. Why would they just suddenly shift because somebody likes you and you've started an office? It doesn't happen like that.
I wanted to talk about this whole thing which you said about litigation in Delhi going, really it has zoomed, and then in Bombay, whatever now. If you could just expand a little bit about that, how do you see generally from 79 to now we are in 2025, how do you see the litigation practice evolving, especially now that we have technology, clients are a lot more demanding?
I tell you, litigation went 79, right? You got, has the camera got the hand? So it started somewhere like this, and then suddenly with zoop and why. So I'll give you 2, 3, 4 simple differences. When I joined the profession in the Supreme Court, I joined Praveen Parekh, who was one of the busiest advocates on record of his time at that time. So the standard fee of a senior counsel, whether you went to Fali Nariman or you went to Soli Sorabji or you went to Anil Diwan or you went to Kapil Sibal or you went to any top senior or you went to my father-in-law, Justice Tarkunde, was 1,040, that means 1,040 rupees for a miscellaneous and 1,650 for a final hearing. That was the fee that Motilal Setalwar had laid down many years ago as to what he said the seniors should charge. And the seniors over the years had adhered to it.
I see.
I think it first got broken in my matter in Swadeshi politics. When Venugopal started charging 7,500, this is somewhere in the year 83, 7,500 for a final hearing. That's when the thing broke. So today, I'll just give you a very simple thing. So that was the fee then. Today, to go out of town, my friend who I met in government law, Mukul Rodgi, will charge you in crores. I won't say how many and I won't say what, but it'll be in crores.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference. You know, in those days, if you went out of town, at the most you could have charged 3,000 rupees.
Yeah.
Today, so you've seen the difference of what money is and how litigation and counsel fees have just skyrocketed. That's one difference. The second difference, and I've said this before in many TV interviews, it's not something new. Those days at about, the Supreme Court started at 10:30. So at 10:15, when you went to the Supreme Court, there's one corridor which overlooks the car park. So when you stand there, you would spot 10-15 cars. Today, if they could park 5,000 cars, they'd park
There's
5,000.
no place.
Yeah. So that's how much it's changed. And thank God, because while Bombay first stagnated and then started falling. You know, so I mean, a lot of my friends who practice here, and they say, look, we may have 5 matters in a day, but it doesn't reach. It just doesn't reach, right? Well, in Delhi, it's not like that.
Yes.
The Delhi High Court is also very busy. It's a very dynamic High Court.
It's quite
The
robust.
Supreme Court is there. It has all the best counsels. So litigation has changed completely.
Completely.
I'll give you another example of again the change. When I joined, there were 4 or 5 firms. First, of course, there was Jimmy Dada Chanji. Then there was Rajendra Narayan and Company. Then there
So
was PH.
I'm sorry because I don't know who Jimmy Dada Chanji is.
So I'll tell you. So then there was
The
PH
firm is
Parekh.
only called that, is it?
Yeah. Then there was PH Parekh and Company. Then there was, I'll spend a little time later telling you about Jimmy Dada Chanji. There's PH Parekh and Company. Then there was Lalit Basin and Company. Then there was Rajendra Narayan and Company. 4, 5, 6 firms. Today you'll get 400. You'll actually get 3,000.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how much it's changed.
Yeah.
So litigation especially has just sort of gone through the roof.
Yeah. Especially in Delhi.
Yeah.
But of course, with so many tribunals and all that also, there is.
So that's why, you know, you got a
There's
tribunal
enough.
here, you got an NCLAT there, you got
Correct.
this thing here, you got that thing there.
But you know, I mean, I'm drawing from my own legal counsel experience. We were Bombayites. I mean, even the company was headquartered in Bombay. So all our matters were either in the High Court or one of the other civil courts. You said it didn't reach. That was one problem. It went to a point, I held the position for 10 years. It went to a point where we actively avoided litigation. Anything is okay, but we would not litigate.
Yeah, because
And now, when I left ironically after I left, everything has moved to Delhi. In fact, the registered office is closed.
so I told
And
so you got it. I told you why.
No.
So this is why. Delhi is the sort of big apple of.
but you know, that's not
Law.
a good thing, right? Like, I mean,
But it's great for us.
Of course, but
Great for us.
even here, what do we do for?
So that's what it is. So thank God I took that decision and said, no,
Yeah.
I'll go back.
Yeah. But good advice for anyone who's listening also. I know you listen to everything, but then focus. But I'm also very curious. You have grown the firm. You know, from what you said, it's like a very relatable starting point for most of us, right? We finished
So
law
it
college.
was what they call a mom and pop show.
Yeah.
And it was more a mom than a pop show because my wife Manik, this is Tarkunde's daughter, she helped found the firm. And everyone felt that she was the harder working of the two of us, which she was. And in fact, when we had our first child, Tahira, who's your friend, Manik took off. And I wanted her to take off a little bit and, you know, sort of take it a bit easy because this thing. So a lot of my friends, Arun, Mukul, they were all a little seriously worried. Is Raian going to be able to handle it? He's going to be able to handle it without
Is it?
Manik. Yeah, so I'm joking. But yeah.
Of
But
course.
then, of course, things
I see.
went well for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how. So it was a mom and pop show. And then just the other day when I looked at it, we had over 110 lawyers.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's changed.
Yeah. But how did you manage to scale it in this way? I'm very curious because, like I said, your origins and your starting is very relatable for most of us. But then today...
Not really. But I'll explain that after you finish the
When I
question.
say relatable, I mean you started a law firm, you decided to start a law firm, and today you are very prominent. You have represented some of the biggest names in the
So I'll
country.
tell you. I'll just give it to you. I'll nutshell it for you. Very simply put, it's like this. There were 2-3 differences between me and Manik as a couple and most of the other people. One, Manik came from a legal family. She was Justice Tarkunde's daughter. So that was an initial advantage.
Yeah.
Two, we were both well connected.
Okay.
You know,
So she's from Bombay, is it?
yeah, Manik, Justice Tarkunde was the judge of the Bombay High Court. In the year 69, I think, he took premature retirement because he wanted to practice. Went to the Supreme Court, had a very busy practice.
I see.
He was also, he founded the PUCL and he founded the Citizens for Democracy. So he was,
Okay.
he was a civil rights activist and he was a
see.
very well-known person. And Manik was well known, and she's a Maharashtrian, I'm a Parsi. So in the Maharashtrian community, my father-in-law, Bhau as we called him, was extremely well known. So we got a lot of work because of him in the initial stages. Then Fali and Soli were close to both of us. Fali was very close to, me because I was, I've had, at one stage of my life, I must have had at least 500 dinners in Rohinton's house because with Pepsi and Fali and all. So they treated me like a sort of a very fond friend of Rohinton. Come, and so on. So always very warm, always very nice. So we were well connected. That's why when we got married in 82, and in 83, I said, let's start. And in fact, a week after we got married, my wife sat for the advocate and record exam, and then we decided in 83 to start. February 83, we started. And I said to myself, look, yaar, we are well, we are well connected. We have everything going. If we don't start, then who will start? So we started, and we were very lucky. We got a lot of work from the initial stages. And, people have always asked, how have you managed? How have you managed? So I always say, and I actually believe, that, whenever Napoleon appointed a general, before he appointed a general, he would ask one last question. Is he lucky? So I'm lucky.
How sweet.
So that's how it is. But, so what is it that propelled us at an early stage? So what propels you? You have to come into the public limelight. How did we at an early stage come into the public limelight? Two things. At an early stage, we got a very big case, the one I told you in which Venugopal broke the fee barrier. Yeah, Swadeshi politics. So very big case, went on for 4 months of argument in the Supreme Court. We were the advocates on record, so we became very well known because of that. Secondly, somewhere in 87, 88, BP Singh, who then went on to become Prime Minister of India, became a client of ours. He came to us through the Indian Express group.
Okay.
Nasli, Ramnath Goenka, my friend Arun Jaitley was the lawyer for the Express group. So was I. So, he came to us. And when you have such a prominent person, then you get into a certain zone which drives everyone in your direction. So we were lucky. We got a lot of work, and then we were able to keep the work because we did it well. We did it, I think, honestly, and we were lucky. So we just got lucky, and work kept on growing.
But is there any, now of course the times are different, but is there any difference between handling these high stake matters? This is a lot to lose also. If you do well, great. But how did you manage that? Because that way you were fairly young to, handle that. High stakes, it needs very deep client trust. How did you foster all of that?
So you can only foster it on the job.
Yeah.
You have a high stake client, and he's entrusted you with something, and he sees how you're working. And you must remember that it wasn't that I was arguing the case. Even when Swadeshi politics was argued, it wasn't Karanjawala standing up and arguing, yeah. So I tell you, who were the battery of counsel who appeared for us? Venugopal, Anil Diwan, Ashok Desai. Who were the people assisting? There was Arun Jaitley. There was, Gurumurthy.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking. S. Gurumurthy, he was there assisting me and a friend of ours called Beena Gupta and Pinaki Mishra, who is now a member, just recently left being a member of parliament. And so Pinaki was the one who brought the case to us. So there were a battery of counsel. So, yes, it was entrusted to us, but then we further entrusted it to people who were very good and very competent. What made us successful and what made us successful in the early days is we always, as far as possible, went to the top counsel. So what was my early days, first in Praveen Parekh's and then later on in my own office, is that 8:30 in the morning, you found yourself either at Fali's house or Soli's house or Anil's house or Mridul's house or somebody's house waiting for a conference. So you take the matter also as a litigator. You don't do it yourself. You're not foolish enough to say, well, wow, I've got a big client, I'm going to grab publicity and I'm going to argue the matter. You take it to the best counsel available. He obviously then is the best, so he does very well and he gets you the relief and then you get part of the credit. He gets most of the credit, but you get part of the credit because you handled it well.
Yeah.
That's how you handle it.
But this is also thinking, like, a lot of time I was reading up on you and I kept seeing this word again and again, which is big picture strategic thinking. Like, that seems to be
just
the
a phrase, yeah.
adjective.
That's just a PR phrase. Don't believe it.
No, but honestly, it's not. Because when you're an in-house counsel, you are a client to lawyers and you're a litigant to the court system. So that puts us in a very different position of.
So the big picture, what do you mean by a big picture? So the big picture is that you have a sense of what the matter is.
Yeah.
You don't get stuck in the small thing. Arey ye affidavit theek nahi hai, or ye theek nahi kiya, yo theek. How did we get that?
Yes.
Only one thing. We learnt at the feet of the best counsels of India. When I was in Praveen Parekh's firm, 3.5 years, every morning, I've never worked as hard as I worked in that firm.
I see.
3.5 years, not maybe every morning,
Of
but
course, yeah.
on a weekday, say 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
You're with Fali, you're with Soli, you're with Anil Devan, you're with Mridul, you're with, later on with Ashok, not Ashok, because Ashok hadn't shifted, my father-in-law, Dr. Chitle, so many top counsels.
Like all of the greats.
Yeah, all of
the
them.
greats.
And you're briefing all of them.
Yeah.
And that is when you watch them in action, when you pick up from how they think, when you don't realize. But the first 3 years, you're just learning silently. And then one fine morning, you learn that actually you're thinking better than the guy next to you because you've actually worked with these counsels.
Correct.
And you've learned with these
Yeah.
counsels. We briefed Ram Jaitley in criminal matters. We did the whole gamut. We had the best counsels of India because we were Delhi based, because it was the Supreme Court. We had the best counsels of India who we briefed. And it's not a one way. It's not only you briefing them. It's you learning a bit from them.
Of course.
So that's what happened. So that is why the big picture. You like Nariman could read the bench better than probably anybody. He and Soli. They could understand in this court, this is what the guy wants. This is how you argue the matter. They never taught you. I still remember one of the early advices, and it's one of the better advices I got. One of the early advices was when I just joined Parekh. Fali had put me with him. So there was a dinner at Fali's house, and he said, Raian, just come to the side. And he just took me to the side and he said, see, nobody has time to teach you. You have to make yourself useful. And that's how you learn. You see, that was the best advice. Nobody, very few, in the old days, that people said, okay, we will argue like this, and this is why I said this. Nobody has time. These guys were doing 30 matters a day, 25 matters a day. They didn't have time to explain to you why they argued a matter the way they argued. It was for you to think, for you to get involved, for you to come to your own conclusions, and for you to learn from them. So that's what happened. So that's the big picture.
But do you think that holds true? I mean, I'm saying, they were the greats, okay? Do you think we have the greats now? You're trying to find the greats through this?
No. I told Tyra the other day, I said, I told Niharika first, I said, you're lucky because you've at least had one occasion to brief Ram Jaitley in criminal law. He was probably the best criminal counsel post-independent India that we have seen. I told Tyra, you're very lucky that you worked in 2, 3, 4 big matters with Fali. Because the way they work, it's very different now. It's just very different.
Yeah.
So you aren't going to get that. It came at a time and it went at that time.
So what is the next best thing for young lawyers who are probably... What is the next best thing now for the next 20, 30 years?
Next best thing in terms of what?
As in, we can't learn at the feet of the greats because the greats don't exist. I mean, that's not true.
And also, you don't have that much work that you can keep taking to the greats. Now, we were in a firm, Parekh and Company, concentrated, very busy. So he had a lot of work to dish out. You won't have so much work to dish out. You'll have 4 matters to give in a month or 5 matters to give in a month. Yet 7 matters to give in a day.
Yeah.
Because it was concentrated in those days.
Correct.
So it just happened at that time. We were lucky.
Yeah, true. That was the need of the time.
No, that was just what it was. It was not the need of the time. The need of the time perhaps was that there should be 40 firms, but there weren't. There were those few firms. They had all the work. They collared all the work. And if you worked in those firms, you gained.
But how do you see now the future of litigation? Given technology and clients being a lot more demanding now. How do you see that?
It's ambiguous. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows what AI will do.
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
Nobody really knows it. Nobody really knows what it will do. So you just have to watch and wait.
And keep putting it down and
You
work.
do what you can do. Yeah, there's nothing else you can do. You have to earn a living. You work, and the day it dries up, you cry.
You cry, okay.
What else is going to happen?
Yeah. There's one part that I've been thinking whether I should ask you or not, which is currently there seems to be a lot of scrutiny in the legal profession, in the world at large. What measures do you think we can take to uphold ethics and to maintain people's confidence in the judiciary?
So, I've had a very simple formula for that in my firm. A very simple formula, which is I believe that the leader is the one who sets the signal for the whole firm. The firm attracts and attains the character of the person who leads it. So if you're ethical at the top and you frown on anyone doing anything unethical, it won't happen. That's what you have to do. That's as simple as that. You just stay straight yourself. That's it. You resist the temptations assuming they come your way. That's it.
But what is something which is more macro? I'll tell you why I'm asking this question also.
What people don't realize, what you're really talking about is people fixing. Isn't that what you're really trying to say?
Fixing is one part, but then if you see the recent articles in the news, so many things have happened in the last 2 months.
Like what?
Whether it is finding money in somebody's house.
That's part of the same thing.
Part of the same thing, yeah.
It's part of corruption. That's what you're saying. Yeah. That's all you're saying. Yeah.
So the judiciary was all the minds of the common. I'll tell you why I'm asking this. Because through the Daily Lawyer now we are on all these channels, and on Instagram I've run a poll saying, is your faith in the judiciary shaken? Yes, no, maybe. 70% of people, none of them are lawyers, and there were about 230 responses to the poll, said yes.
So, now, you see, when you have such a high voltage situation and such large drama, and then you have everyone commenting on it, not only in the media but in the social media, this is bound to happen.
Yeah.
And faith is lost and faith is regained.
So how do you regain that then? Because I'll tell you what happened after that.
Because you just behave the way the old judges behaved. Straightforward, decent. Regain the faith. How do you do something stupid today and people think she's a fool, but then the next
if I can redeem myself.
The next 3 years you behave in a sensible manner, people forget. So that's what you do. I'm sure the judges are constantly looking at ways to tackle this problem, and I'm sure they'll find it, and it will come out, and people will one day perhaps feel that this incident was both unfortunate and aberrational, and
Correct.
It was a one-off, and we all hope that's what happened.
Now, when I'm going to stick with the firm because I liked what you said about the leader setting the tone and the culture of the firm. And from that, my question to you would be, what are some of the values that you have held in your life as a professional, as a person, and how have they influenced your, as in personal life or influencing the professional, personal, like how has that happened?
See, there are 2-3 things. There are 2-3. One is, and I don't want to say it, but I'm a Parsi. And by and large, we have many faults, but we are a very ethical community.
Yeah.
So you get it from your ancestors, you get it from your family.
Yeah.
We were a middle class family, but we were a dead straight family. My father may not have left me much, But whatever else he did, he left us a fair name. And certainly I'm not going to spoil it for money. So that's the first thing. That somehow ethicality was in my genes.
Yeah.
Secondly, I married into a family. I mean, I married Manik, whose family was also very, very, my father-in-law was
Straightforward.
overly so.
Okay.
So, very, very cut and dry about these things. And so that's the atmosphere in the house.
Yeah.
And, with that kind of atmosphere, then the children get it. And you say to yourself, why should I lose something? Also, God was very kind to me. I was always earning fairly well. I'm not rich, but I'm not poor. I was always earning fairly well. I was always earning more than most of my contemporaries. Everybody successful. I didn't need to, you see. Secondly, my school, Columba school. The one thing that Columba did for you, every Columban is nervous and trepidatious. We're not daredevils. Every modernite.
But why like that?
Because we were an Irish brothers school. We were cane left and right. Fadak! Straight, one cane, straight, if you did here or there. So by and large, all of us were brought up
Very
saying,
rule-abiding and good
very
boys.
law-abiding, very
Yeah.
yes, sir, no. So I still remember that my elder daughter saying, she went to Carmel Convent. She said, Carmel? What was the whole culture? The whole culture was pray to God and don't bother about money. She went to Amity and she suddenly saw commerce in its full play.
Yeah.
So it's the culture of the school also which kept us that way, trepidatious. You will see all the Columbans, by and large, they're always nervous, they're always apprehensive, they're always very averse to breaking the law. They don't have a daredevil in them. Other schools do produce daredevils. So that was the second thing.
Yeah.
Thirdly, it's just me. And God's been kind. And also, there is a fear which people don't realize that, you break the law in a bad way. It's a 7-year jail sentence you're looking at.
Yeah.
So it's
Not
just
worth it.
Nothing is worth
Nothing
it anyway.
is worth it. Yeah. Right. How have you managed to? I work with my husband now in the Daily Lawyer, but we never used to work together before, and it's difficult to transition from colleagues to spouses and back again and parents and no, because now all the roles are getting mixed. How have you managed to run, build, grow, and run a successful firm? And now with Tahira and Niharika also, so there's a generational transition as well. How have you managed that? Like, what would you say to people, the rest of the people
So
like us?
as far as Manik and I were concerned, when we were working together, we never worked on the same matter.
Acha.
Except I think the judge's case, where we were together, first judge's case, SP Gupta, where we were together, we never worked on. We used to have our own, the firm was one, but we had separate matters. She would run hers, I would run mine. So there was no kitsch page and why didn't you say this and how come you didn't point that out, none of that. As far as Tahira and Niharika were concerned, I had a very, very clear, unlike other people, I never said that ours is a very democratic firm and it'll all be on merits, and if Tahira is competent and Niharika is competent, then they will act their way to the top. I always said it's a family firm, it'll stay with the family. One. So the rest of the firm were not surprised when Tahira and Niharika came in, or that when they were given power. Because from the beginning, that was the deal of the firm and all those who worked in it, that Tahira and Niharika were going to have a special place. Having said that, when I made Tahira a partner, I made her a partner much after a lot of people kept on saying, now make her a partner, but she was doing well. But people said, bana do. But I said, I wanted it gradual. Fortunately, the girls have also been brought up in such a way that they're very respectful and very careful of the opinions of those around them in the firm. So they've not sort of rocked feathers. They haven't walked in and said, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
They aren't, because I am. But even then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's been a gradual. What I did do is empower them. So like Niharika gets a lot of the administration to do. And in fact, that's one of the few things they've sort of just put me in a corner. And Niharika said, she's threatened the whole staff that dare you go and talk to my father. If he tries to overrule us, we will sack you. Of course, they can't. But still, it's that whole this thing. So you just keep giving them more. How do people grow? How do you grow as a lawyer? You do more work. How do you grow as an administrator? You get more power. You get more empowerment. You make your mistakes. You do the right thing. You do the wrong thing. But that's how you get the confidence to continue to do things that will take the firm forward. That's how it is.
That's good advice. I will also take this back and be more gentle. I think this is good, no? Division of power. Don't get into the other person's lane.
But that's with my firm. All the partners run their own practices. They don't have to come back to me on this and that. I just look at the overall. How much did you bill? How much did you recover? That's what I look at. Have you met a target? These are the three things we look at.
And I think I have only one more question to close out this. This is the legacy series, and
so you're going to ask me all the advices that I had to give you.
Yeah, advice so I'll ask only. I was waiting for the next section. But what would you say are your biggest contributions in terms of from this legacy point of view to the profession, and how would you want to be remembered in the annals of history?
So I don't think I've made any great contribution to the profession, but there's one thing, if at all, which obviously I didn't pioneer it, but there's one thing where I can say that yes, we've had a role, which is to function as a boutique litigation firm. Somewhere in the year 2000, either 99 or 2000, I'm not clear. Shadul Pallavi, an old friend of mine, so now a civilian Mandana, Amachal Mangalas offered me a merger. I said, why don't you all get together, we all merge and all that. And I went through the whole process, but I decided against it for a variety of reasons. But one of the takeaways of that whole processing of this situation was that a lot of people came and said, sir, you're very well known yourself. So I said, no, yeah, what are you saying here? Where's Amachal, where are we? I said, no, sir, but in your field, you're very well known. So that got me setting the concept of a boutique litigation law firm. Now, what I was happy to see, and I mean, I shouldn't be bragging, but if you permit,
please.
You know what AI is, right?
Yes.
You know how AI works.
Yeah.
You know how Grok works. You know how ChatGPT works.
Yes.
So the other day, just by way of a curiosity, this is about 2-3 weeks ago, so it may have changed by now, I don't know. But just by way of curiosity, I typed in, who are the well-known boutique litigation law firms in India? And on both occasions, that name came out virtually at the top. I mean, in one it was at the top, in one it was the second. So that's it. So I think the concept of a boutique litigation law firm, because all the other big firms are full service firms.
Correct.
Or half service firm, but they may not do one or two things, but they do a lot. We and Mahesh Agarwal in Delhi are the two really boutique litigation law firms. And I think to some extent we both contributed to the development of that.
Yes. Do you want to stay that way? Do you think it?
No, I have no choice. We're not able to now, people try a corporate practice, but it never works really. Unless you're good in that, you're not going to be able to keep it.
Yeah.
I remember Marazban Barucha, who's a very dear friend of mine. Marazban, when he had shifted to his office in Delhi, asked us, would you like to join? I thought about it and then I said, we don't know that branch of the law.
Correct.
So just stick to what you know.
Yeah. That's good advice. I feel like I have so many other questions, but they are all coming under this advice wala,
Ask whichever way you want to ask.
So then now I'll ask on that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have that we do as our last set. That I do for fun because I like to listen to the answers. So it's 5 of something, 4 of something, 3 of something like that. So shall I ask you?
Sure.
So now 5 is 5 productivity tips. When we asked Justice Patel this, he said, what? Productivity tips? What kind of questions you're asking?
The first thing, if you ask me, you want a serious question and a serious answer. The first thing is recognize your strength and recognize your weakness and work to your strength and camouflage your weakness. So how does that work? So I'm fundamentally a lazy person. That's how I am. That's how I am built. And I know it. You don't have to say no and yes and no. I am a lazy person. I know myself. You don't have to tell me. Realize that and make it. So whenever there was I realized early that whenever there was something that I didn't like to do, then I just found 50 reasons not to do it.
Yeah.
So I just now delegate straight. Now, of course, I delegate everything, most things, but I used to just straight away delegate. So the complicated work my wife did. She was a hard worker. She did it. It got done.
Okay.
So I once told Tyra this, and I said, see, there was a client that came, and there was an urgent matter, came on a Friday evening. It had to be listed in the High Court. We had to have a special sitting, and on Saturday we had to get the court to hear the matter, which they don't normally, and so the client came. Now, had I been doing everything myself, I'd have instinctively found 7-10 reasons why it couldn't be listed on Saturday, why we could only get it listed on Monday. I didn't do that. I just called to a partner in and said, take it, finish the drafting today, finish this thing. Don't wait till the morning to sort of cyclostyle. Have it finished tonight, because in the morning the electricity goes, then you won't be able to. Sara aaj raat ko khatam karo. In the morning, first thing go, call up the registrar, talk to him tonight only, call up the registrar and request the judge to this thing and get a hearing and get the order. That's what happened. So I told her, see, this is the advantage of leading from behind. Had I led from front, it wouldn't have got done. I just delegated it, and there it is. It got done. So the first thing is understand what you're good at, understand what you're not good at, understand what your weakness is, and get your strength. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first.
That's a very good advice, actually.
Most of
Yeah.
my advices are.
Yeah, most, yeah. I like how you said this is one of the better advices that I received. So then more, like 5, you have to get to 5. Okay.
Second, what I told Zia. So Zia is a very dear friend of mine, Zia Modi. And she told me, I've been following your advice. She used to, Zia is just the exact opposite of me. She's a workaholic. So, everything. The second thing I told her, I said, the two things I told her, I said, the difference between you and me is this. In your firm, everybody knows that ultimately you will see it and sign off. So, everybody is willing to, is that slightly more relaxed because they know that you will see it.
Yeah.
In my firm, they know I won't see it, but they know if something goes wrong, I'll kill them. So that's how my team develops. They all handle things themselves. They don't say, but boss bhi dekhega, so if there's a mistake, he'll correct. They know that boss, if there's a mistake, he won't correct, but he'll kill you. So that's the second thing. Third thing which I told her, which she does say, she implements. I said, don't, when you're going into a conference, you have 5 conferences to go into. Don't go into the conference in the beginning. Go midway or toward the end. By then, your juniors have summarized what the whole matter is about. A junior or a competent lawyer can always, in 3 minutes, tell you what the client would have spent 25 minutes explaining. Go in, understand what in 3 minutes what the issue is, finish it off.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think I'm agreeing with you that most of your advices are good.
Yeah. So that's it.
And for younger lawyers. Actually, most of what you're saying seems to speak to, I don't think that big picture and strategic thinking is PR stunt. It seems to be very real.
So there are 3 advices I would give lawyers, if you ask me. What do the young, if you're starting today, what is the first advice I would give you? And this I give you very sincerely. Let me just have some water. The first advice I would give is, when you're joining a firm or an office, the first thing to remember is, look, sometimes you have no place, you join wherever you can.
Correct.
That's your luck. But suppose you have an alternate or you're looking, then don't look for the best office, the most air-conditioned office. Don't look for how much you're being paid, because the early years of law are still like an apprentice.
Yes.
It's the learning, it's not the earning. Don't look for how much you're being paid. Only look at one thing. Will they keep you busy? If they keep you busy, take it at the cost of anything. Borrow money from your parents or take money from your parents. Earn less, but stay in the busy office, because that is the grounding you will need to become a successful lawyer. Had I not been in Parekh and Company, I perhaps wouldn't have been where I am today, because it was just that night and day work that we had to do, morning, noon, night, which made us what we were. And even for a lazy guy, that was very hard work. We were, those days we were certainly not lazy. We were really hard working. Far more than anybody else in this thing. So that's the first thing to look at. So always look for the place which keeps you busy. That's one. Second piece of advice is, and this I learned from Kapil Sibal, when you're dealing with a client's case, don't be constantly negative. A lawyer is a bit like a doctor. You have to have good bedside manner. And I used to suffer from this myself. Everything, you find some fault. You should have done this, you should have done that, should have done that. Then what happens is that even when the matter is being argued, if the judge makes the same point that you thought of, you say, see, I told you. I said, there's nothing in the case. No, that's not the way.
Correct.
Look at the positive, work on the positive. And so don't constantly find fault. I remember once there was a conference, Anil Diman. I wasn't there, but I heard the story. So the client told Anil Diman was going on, frankly saying, why you didn't do this, why didn't you do that? He said, Sahib, भूल नहीं करते तो तुम्हारे पास ही थोड़ी आओ. If we hadn't made a mistake, we wouldn't be here. So look at the positive side and work to the positive. And that I learned from Kapil. Kapil used to, case would say, no problem, we'll handle it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And he'd go and argue whether he won, whether he lost. But he won more than he lost. And that's what happened.
For the clients, because I've been a client, I'm telling you, like exactly what the client said, right? You are looking at the lawyer saying, I know I've made a mistake. Yeah. Don't tell me and make me feel worse.
So that's the third piece of advice, which is again counterintuitive. But if you're doing well in the profession, you started doing well, never ever waste your money buying an office.
Is it?
I never believe in it, and I'll tell you why. So Martin Sorrell, who ran the biggest advertising company in the world, always said, he rented all his offices, he never bought any. He said, we're not in the real estate business. If you have surplus money, spend it on the profession. Increase the quality of your juniors. Pay them a little more, get slightly better juniors. Save that money for that. If you have extra money, use it to make your office more technologically advanced. If you have extra money, use it to send your juniors for courses which will help them become better in what they are. If you have extra money, spend it on your top juniors in order to see that they don't leave you. Don't buy an office. It isn't going to help you in the profession, and you're not in real estate.
Thank you.
So
this though I will take, and first person whom I'm going to show, my husband.
Yeah. So these are the three.
We're having this fight only between ourselves.
So then tell us what else. What is the other question?
So our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 has actually gone out of the window, so it's fine, let it go. But you spoke about when you said first, when you're a young lawyer, go to the office that has a lot of work. Now, what is your experience about young lawyers today? Do you think people are actually doing that? Because
no, today poor chaps, they just grab whatever they get. I mean, look, I told you that there'll be 5,000 cars in the car park in the Supreme Court. I mean, people have just seen the way post Manmohan Singh and liberalization, fees just went crazy. Yeah. Everyone joined the legal profession. From top to bottom, everyone joining the legal profession. Yeah. So today, you just join whoever you can get into. Because, I mean, every day our firm gets, and so do a lot of other firms. Every day you get lots of people constantly applying. Let us join, let us join, let us intern, let us intern, let us join, let us join. So today, you may not have that choice of saying कि ये air condition, ये high fees, पर मैं जाऊँगा busy. जहाँ मिले, वहाँ ले जाओ.
But what do you look at when you're looking at recruitment? Is anything specific that you're looking at?
So I don't look now. The partners who are hiring look. But to be honest with you, counterintuitive, I always found that the guy I thought would be great, I didn't always find, but say 7 out of 10 we found. The guys we thought would be great were terrible, and the guys we thought would be awful were sometimes pretty good. So you can't make out. That's the first rule. It's like a marriage. You really don't know what you're getting into till you
get into it.
Yeah. So it's like that. Yeah. So you can't make out. You can't just, there are some obviously brilliant people. Like, for example, Manika Guruswamy, the senior counsel. She joined me. But, she was not really fit to be a firm because a firm requires a lot of things. You don't only have to, she was a Rhodes Scholar.
Yes.
But you don't only require to be brilliant and a good arguing counsel. Yeah. You need to do the slog work, you need to know, what is our job? We're advocates on record. You have to see that the files come on time, you have to see that all the law books are arranged, you have to see that the clerk is informed, and you have to see that the junior reaches. So there's a lot of administration and loose end work.
Correct.
Which is not pure intellectual. So there may be very brilliant people, but they may not do well in firms. So you can't really make out. It's an amalgam.
And what do you think are the values that young lawyers or any of us, okay, not just young lawyers, we are also young only, that they need to hold on to succeed in the profession in the next 20, 30 years now?
So one is be ethical, because that always pays in the long run. Shortcuts don't really help. Secondly, try as far as possible to have a can-do attitude. I remember, I won't give that example, Soli was once telling me, but one of the things he really liked about Harish was that he gave Salve. He gave Harish any work. He said, "Me bakto, I'll do it. Will you? I'll do it." Have that attitude. That takes you places. Coming back to what Nariman said, nobody has time to teach you. You have to make yourself useful.
Yes.
So you have to have that thinking. But सब काम दिया हो जाएगा. Not, "Arey sir, but today sir, we have got a movie sir, we got to go here."
Before I ask you the last piece of advice, I'm curious to know your views on, you spoke, of course, you said, I don't know how future of litigation will go because AI is a big unknown variable. But what is your view? How do you see the general profession going? Why I'm asking is, we're seeing proliferation of expertise. Now people are becoming more aware and you're going to more expert lawyers.
So the answer will be that from general, there will be specialists. There will, today, like I was suggesting to my two son-in-laws who are also lawyers, that try to specialize. Because specialization today gets you recognition. The days when you could be good in 25 different fields of law and then everyone thinks you're great is not going to happen. So try to specialize. Try to find out what is the speciality of the moment, what is the flavor of the next 3-4 years, and try to do work in that if you can. Because that's how you will progress. When the telecom revolution, this thing, a friend of mine, Manoj Bajpayee, left everything and jumped into telecom and did brilliantly. So, you have to catch the light. You have to go into the inner track of that time. You have to go on the fast lane.
Yeah. And what do you think is the inner track of this time?
Impossible to say. I remember Dadaji getting it wrong when I was talking to Jimmy.
You have to tell me.
Yeah, so when I was talking to Jimmy, I said, "Jimmy, uncle, so luggage, what will happen in the years to come?" I think labor will be the field of the future. Labor was over. It's over. The labor lawyers of the Supreme Court are dead. I mean, they're not dead and gone.
Yeah, but then it's almost redundant.
Yeah. You can't say. You don't know. Excise used to be the booming field. Everyone, so many people did excise. Oh. One fine day it changed.
Now everyone's doing data privacy and all because of the regulation.
It keeps changing.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
And what is your view on, I think that every person who passes out from a law school must do some amount of litigation work. That is my personal view. No matter what your future track is, everybody must do some amount of litigation work. That's my opinion. Also,
so I agree with you there.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm noticing now, I was moderating a panel of general counsels and we were having a discussion about how they are hiring from law school, straight out of law school. I said, oh, they're coming straight into corporate. I said, yeah, of course. I said, but isn't that not a good thing?
But see, the firms can't really help it. They are paying you money. So the sooner, they can't now recruit from 10 years standing and 5 years standing because it's not so easy to recruit 100 new people of 5 years standing. You need raw, fresh talent because you've got a lot of work. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to the law school. Now you don't have that sort of long-term vision to say, I'll put him 1 year in litigation, then I'll bring him to corporate. You say, boss, you're in corporate, you start working and you work now. So that in 2 years' time when you know your stuff, then I can really bank on you. I don't want you to waste time doing this. So whether you like it or you don't like it, this is what will happen. People will be taken and plucked and put into what the firm wants them to do.
So then, for
you may not get
internship, that it's better than not doing anything. So maybe while you're studying, you do an internship or something.
Yeah, but you don't pick, you need to do something consistently at least for a year or two, especially in litigation, to get the hang of it,
Correct. So it is what it is. Okay, on that note, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
So, let me first spend a little time on the man and his firm.
Yeah.
So, there was a man called Jimmy Dadachandji.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dadachandji started his practice in the 60s in the Supreme Court, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Jimmy Dada Chandji, personally, I knew him, was the most well-connected lawyer I've ever known.
I see.
He was silver-tongued, he was golden-hearted. He started a firm called J.B. Dada Chandji and Company. Now, if you're a student of constitutional law, you'll realize what I'm saying. All these cases were his. Bank nationalization, R.C. Cooper.
Achha.
Advocate on record, Jimmy Dada Chandji. Arguing counsel, Nani Palkiwala. Privy purses, Madhav Rao Sindhya. Advocate on record, Jimmy Dada Chandji. Arguing counsel, Nani Palkiwala. Golaknath, again. Keshav Nanda Bharati, again. Minerva Mills, again.
Okay, so all of the cases that you studied.
When Mrs. Gandhi lost her election at Allahabad, she filed an appeal to the Supreme Court. Advocate on record, Jimmy Dada Chandji.
Wow.
When Union Carbide had that Bhopal gas tragedy, they could have gone, they were rich, they could have gone to any firm in India, they could have gone to Crawford Bailey, Mullah, you name it. Jimmy Dada Chandji.
I see.
That is how well known Jimmy Dada Chandji's firm was.
Okay.
It was the most well-known firm in India, and Jimmy was the most well-connected person. He knew prime ministers, he knew ministers, he knew Jagjivan Ram's son-in-law worked for him. He knew everybody. That was Jimmy Dada Chandji. So, and I used to eat out a lot, and he used to eat out a lot, and I always had lunch out. So one day I was sitting at the Machan in Delhi, which is a coffee shop of the Taj Man Singh, and Jimmy was on the other table. So I said, Jimmy uncle, why don't you join me? We joined together. We were chit-chatting away. And I said, Jimmy uncle, and I used to call him uncle, he was a friend of my father's. He was older to me by many, many years. I said, Jimmy uncle, you have had everyone as your client. You've had captains of industry, you've had kings, you've had Maharajas, you have had prime ministers, you have had everybody at all. If you were to distill it, what would you say was the secret of your success? He didn't think, he didn't spend time saying, no, beta, you have to work hard, you have to be lucky. He just said, and it's something you have to, you don't realize till you think about it again and again until you practice it. He said, Raian, it's simply a matter of managing people's egos. That's it.
I see.
Yeah. And the more you think of it, you'll realize. You're working with your boss. And you say, boss, kamal kar diya aapne aaj. And you see how it changes. So we used to have, I'm not going to take name because it very slit my throat, but there were so many juniors or so many well-known seniors who just prospered on that one little thing. Boss, kamal kar liya, kya sula diya aaj jaj ko. Finish. It's simply a matter of managing people's egos. And believe me, there is nobody I knew who managed egos better than Dada Chandji. And I still remember, I was sitting in the canteen one day and he said, you should be a counsel, Raian. You'll be like Fali and Soli. And you know, I once asked his junior, did people believe him? He said, of course people believed him. I believed him.
How sweet.
So that's it. That was
But
it.
then beyond, like, how do you do that? I mean, that seems to be a very skillful thing to do, right? Because you can't be seen as fake.
Yeah.
You can't be seen as,
So that's Jimmy. He was just exception.
Yeah. It's very good advice. I'm actually sad to end the podcast because I've run through my questions and I've asked you a lot more than what I have put. But I had such a good time chatting with you. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, I did.
And I hope we've left the audience with something. I think there were so many practical takeaways. So anything that you want to say in conclusion to everyone here? So I remember in one of the interviews you'd said, but you'd said, young lawyers should not start a law firm right off the bat or something like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
You know, you have to have a certain level of experience. Why did I not make Tyra a partner initially? Because when a person walks in and sits across a table from a partner, they expect a certain level of knowledge. They expect a certain level of mature thinking. You can have a lot of money and your dad can get you a plush office and you can take 5 juniors and you can start a law firm. but it doesn't cut cloth. You have to have that. You have to have that. You have to acquire a certain amount of gravitas. Of course, you have to take time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because somebody I know recently started a law firm after 1 year of practice. I met them. I said, wow, like, how did you have the courage to do that?
No, the question is not how he had the courage.
How the clients had the courage. No, but the clients don't know any better because I asked that person.
Every client will soon know that you're floundering. Look, in 1
Correct.
year, you can be, unless you're Nani Palswala or you're some super genius.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself a little bit of slack.
Yeah.
You need to, you need to also,
make
develop.
mistakes and grow.
No, you know, also you're holding out. You're just holding out here. I mean,
True. I wanted to ask you this before and I just slipped in my mind when we were having this conversation. Suddenly came. So anyway, coming back to the original question, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we
no, I think I've spoken enough. And I think the law is a great profession. It gives you so much more than so many others. First of all, especially if it's kind to you.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who starve and then that's bad. But then anywhere in the world, a person who doesn't do well has difficulties. But if you do well as a lawyer, just middling well, first, you have a lot of independence.
Correct.
We don't have to kowtow to people. Lawyers by nature, I remember a friend of mine telling me, "Tum logon ka problem kya hai? You are by nature very talkative." Lawyers by nature are not just talkative, they're very argumentative, they're very opinionated. It gives you and helps you develop a personality. You're not working in an organization, so you're not kowtowing all the time.
Correct.
Boss ne kya kaha, boss ko kya laga, ye isko kya. You're giving your own views and say, okay, you go to court, if 5-7 years of practice, you argue, the judge disagrees, you try to get back. That's how you develop.
So I agree. It is a wonderful practice. And I had a wonderful time. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And thank you